All stories, if continued far enough, end in death, and he is no true storyteller who would keep that from you. If two people love each other, there can be no happy end to it. Ernest Hemingway. First sight. The first time I saw her legs, I felt deeply in love, and I thought that perhaps my time had come, and that perhaps there would be a benevolent God after all. She was a show horse, and I expected her to pull a wagon. A woman's beauty works against me, as my mother never helped me bridge the gap. Around beautiful women, my brain freezes like a ship icebound in the Bering Sea. She would have been so erotic, it would have been obscene. He fit her academic schedule better and could provide things for her she both needed and deserved. I could do neither. Quadratic equations. She manipulates people like she manipulates mathematical equations. Buttermilk. With such force and velocity, she would churn me and turn me to butter. It's all power. Sex is part of power. She was. She was coy and cunning and without a conscience. She was as self-centered as the sun. She was as innocent as autumn apples, as innocent as an infant's first breath. She was as impatient as a typhoon, as cruel and heartless as a tsunami. She was as appealing as a Spartan woman, as seductive as Helen of Troy. She was as erotic as Kali in her dance of death, dangling a necklace of skulls. Wahini. What a perfect word for a woman. Una hija. I also wanted her as my daughter. Una día cuando yo encontré 3 o 4 niñas bonitas en el camión, yo recuerdo Xian y como yo quiero ella como mi hija también. Women cultivate their beauty, know its power. High tide. Everything is dictated by the woman, like the tides. From boy to old man, woman has the power no matter the age. She would have gone to him anyway, and I wouldn't have been able to handle it. In this way, maybe she was doing me a favor. Touchdown. I would be happy to play special teams on your team, to play backup quarterback on your team, to be equipment manager on your team, though I'm sure I'd mix things up. Be ball boy, place kicker, water boy on your team to score the winning touchdown. You can't go home again. You can never go back, Iraq. It's never the same, love. And time in the river, wait for no one. Lovers. Truth is, she knew as well as I that if we ever touched, we'd be finished. Get real. I am a romantic. I thought it would work. I gave her all I had to give, and I can't afford for her to take any more. May she have a Proustian awakening. Venice. And remember, world, when they first started building Venice, they didn't know it would be Venice. La muchachas. The trouble with me is I love pretty girls too much. To give my heart to a tart, to a wet snowfall in spring? She was young, and I am old. Collective unconscious. I am the saint and the sinner, because in evolutionary time I have been all life forms before me, and know all the secrets. The solar drift of my phylogeny, a drift of dendrites in the delta of my nervous system, the sediment of sound where the time-weary river lets down its silt of distant memories. Matinee idols, the Lone Ranger because he put virtue before himself, Tarzan because he lived in the jungle and could talk to animals like St. Francis, and all my cowboy heroes who, like a Zoroastrian, fought on the side of good against evil and got the pretty girls besides. The Depression. Classical music saved me from my family, which I shared nothing with and that still lived in the Great Depression. At the State University, I heard the poetic voice and discovered the vastness of Eastern mind, and accidentally stumbled across Samuel Beckett in the theater of the absurd. This saved me too. And I fell in love with ideas which, though maybe not poetry, sprang from my mind like little kernels of corn, and that seemed to fit the contours of my brain better than anything else. The temple at Delphi, and the French Impressionists saved me too. Opening me up to art in the National Gallery was my temple. And the cafe with all the pretty girls, that saved me too. I fear for her as a daughter gone away, as a son gone to war. Greenwich time. The world religions are like measuring the world time by your time. Early Sunday morning, in the cafe, trapped by antique notions of femininity in a cage full of tigers. The end of my assignment, the end of a civilization that I must witness. Your father did the best he could. How can you hold him so responsible in an evil world? If I had lived a family life, I would have found it too confining and regretted it. God knows I've given God enough chances. The Bush legacy will be the family that led America to ruin. I mean, how stupid can you be to not know women like money? Never play the sucker game with women. Never spend more than what you feel comfortable with, or that you would spend on yourself. And if that means you don't get no women, then you don't get no women. Break my nose on that any day of the week. Enlightenment. Not where the soul merges with God, but where the soul sees itself. To Dominica, I would like to live between your legs. Yeah, it's really nice. Shit.
What's up?
She played a game on me, and it was a rough game, and it doesn't show her in good light. But it's very much strong for the ending.
Not everyone's perfect.
I'm sorry?
Not everyone's perfect, you know. So if you decide to read it, it's just part of being human.
Yeah, okay, for the sake of... are we on?
We're on.
Okay, for the sake of literature. And believe me, my feelings for Hongling are positive, and I hate to read something written 5 or 6 years back, and that may, that shows a complete picture of being human, but that I don't want to say anything that it would personally, but then I'm reading China Girl, and it's hard to say. I want to finish it according to the book, and so I hope not that it has any offensive in the present day. I'd love to spend forever, whatever, you know. She's got a busy life. And I'm very glad she could be anywhere in the world right now, sitting in a very important room full of people, having to do with statistics. She's the only genius I can say for sure I ever met at the first, and she also was the top student in the whole university departments of all graduate students, whether it be science, literature, or you name it. She was number one of all of them. She's just, and she deserves credit. And she's, you know, she was young, and so I shouldn't, you know, and that when I was young, you know, anybody's young, they're stupid. So, and she had many things to do with her life. So I shouldn't read this, and so I ask, you know, it's real hard. Okay, well, again. The end. To Xian, Chinese princess. I hate my visit to Earth. I am 65, going on 90. Like Antigone, I shall miss the mornings. Old and poor, I never saw it coming. I received a call soon after I got in at 9 o'clock. She was upset because she and her boyfriend had just had a big fight, and now she was in need of rescue to get to the bus station to go back to Tucson. I told her to take a taxi, and if she didn't have the money, to take it to my place and I'd pay for it. And that in the meantime, I'll call a friend who had a car to see if he were home and would be right over. Winter solstice. I am born of a million complaints, a winter foliage pretending to be a sprig. An offer you can't refuse. If I could suddenly be a celebrity, a famous American writer at the height of his career, a creative genius that no one had tried before, a hidden emerald in a pile of ash versus an easy death, I'd take it in a minute. They decide. She decides. Her call had come from out of the blue. I had thought her in Phoenix, finishing up her spring semester before they left for China to meet her parents. And though I had been out of love with her for a while, it had been an effort, and I had hoped she would get married and live happily ever after and leave me alone. But here she was, thrust into my life again with nothing to gain and everything to lose. Andrew and I arrived at about 11 o'clock, knocked on the front door, and was told by her boyfriend that she was no longer there but had left in a taxi. On the way back, we passed by my place just in case, and then headed for the bus station. I had thought myself relieved of her care when I saw her and her boyfriend in Barnes & Noble a couple of weeks before. But now, on the way to the bus station, I felt like a father looking for his daughter. Why should I fawn over women, since they exist for market value and would winnow me out with the first toss? I have always treated them with deference, and what good has it done me? And remember, there is no equality between the sexes. Women are naturally superior to men, and they know it. She had called unexpectedly the week before. She was in the library and asked me to come over to visit her while she studied. When I got there, we sat in the foyer where I bought her a coffee and she settled back behind her computer. I keep going back to the cafe, even at this old age, with my hips hurting, my knees aching, my neuropathy closing in, and having to walk home after the last bus is left, hoping some woman would love me. She brought out a bag of candy she had bought as a gift for me in Phoenix. I thanked her and told her I didn't want any right now, but how I would look forward to having one later, when she said, "Have one now." I think I said something stupid like, "I don't want one sweet on my tongue right now," but she insisted, and I took the course of least resistance and consented. She tore the bag open and handed it over to me, and as she promised, I opened one of the candies and popped it into my mouth. It was even sweeter than I thought, but I thanked her nonetheless and said it tastes good, when she answered in a low, soft, and lilting voice, "I win." Taken aback, I countered, "And have you always won, since you were a child?" And then in a voice hardly above a whisper, she answered, "Always." The Bridge of Sighs. I sigh now more, little sighs, like a baby might make, that gurgles out of me like water from a spring whenever something moves me. May you find someone to love you as I loved you. I waited until he came for her. She thanked me for my company. Then she disappeared out the door like a gust of wind. Monday Night Football, or the State of the Union address. When Don Meredith used to sing "The Party's Over" at the end of a football game, when the loser was no longer in doubt, and that the good times are all gone, and it's time for moving on, and I always thought of America. Freelance reporter. I am like a reporter at the end of the world with no one left to listen. My life decreed, a stupid life, a stupid death. The Gift. She called to thank me before she left. She left a message as I was not in. Her voice was weak, and had I not known, I might have thought her sick or gravely ill. She thanked me for the night before, for having come to her rescue, and told me how I was a good man, and stuff like that. Then she said she would be sending me back a gift from China, and how she thinks I will like it, and that she'll mail it to me if she doesn't come back. And then, with a great sadness, in a voice barely audible and able to finish itself, she said, "Goodbye," as if it were her last breath. And that ends China Girl. And again, I love her, and I wrote the book because of her, and any emotional thing of high energy is bound to have its ups and downs and disappointments and positive and negatives, but she's very important, was, will be in terms of, whatever life's about. So I hope that that's understood. She's a good person. Good person.